Welcome to the Professional Speakers Association of the Netherlands event series. In this series, we introduce you to various speakers from around the world with interesting topics that will be relevant to you as a professional speaker. Today in the event series, Andy Preston talks about sales in these difficult corona times. Hope you enjoyed the video.
Some of the guys in X-Team who was on the call know I was just about to finish my book on how to get more upgrades everywhere, which is kind of not only useless, but also kind of a little bit inappropriate right now, because I'm saying, hey, get loads of upgrades, and like we can't even drive to the local shop, or we can't even, the South Africans, we can't even get any alcohol at the minute. So let alone fly anywhere and get upgraded, I'd just be happy to be able to get anywhere. So we're in very different times, and I want to talk a little bit about the mistakes I see people making, in terms of speakers making, some tips of what we could do instead, and then kind of open up for questions. So that's kind of my plan from today. So in which case, let's kick off with that. First of all, I can't do a presentation for PSA Netherlands without having Qualification as part of the presentation. The people who know me know this is my favorite thing to have. I should be in Amsterdam with you guys today, in which case I've been insisting we go to my favorite place in the world, which is the Carousel, near the Heineken Experience in Amsterdam. Paul and some of you have been there with me, because I always insist we go. And a chocomel met room with poffages is definitely my favorite trip when I'm in Holland. So apologies I can't be there with you today. My virtual background, some of you will know already that have seen my presentations. There's a picture I took of Auckland when we were there for the GSS last time. And I was lucky enough to be asked to speak. And I met Ingehihi Bidwa, who was the MC, the Maori guy known as the face of New Zealand, which also gave me my best Instagram picture ever. I thought that was particularly cool. And as part of that, with the then Dutch PSA, we said, oh, well, while we're here, Andy, why don't we try and get some poffages? Why don't we try and find a local place who'll do it? I said, yeah, no problem. So I was talking to Paul. I said, yeah, I'll sort it out. So we put a little Facebook event up. I thought it would just be me, Paul, and Frauer maybe. And then suddenly over the weekend, we suddenly got about 25 people interested. I was like, oh, okay. So Paul comes to me on the Sunday and says, Andy, we've got quite a lot of people interested. Have you booked a table at this Dutch restaurant? I said, I haven't, Paul. I didn't think it'd be that popular, to be fair. I thought it'd be just a few of us, but now there's potentially 25. Maybe I better book one. And he said, Andy, have you checked the restaurants open? I said, Paul, come on, don't be ridiculous. It's a Monday. What kind of stupid restaurant wouldn't be open on a Monday? And Paul said to me, Andy, Dutch restaurants aren't open on Monday. I said, well, what kind of stupid thing is that? I said, I'm sure kids in Auckland will follow local rules, not Dutch rules. So I look on the website and it's got Tuesday opening hours, Wednesday opening hours, Thursday opening hours, Friday opening hours, weekend opening hours, Monday closed all day. And I was like, oh no. Not only have I not booked a table, I haven't even checked whether it's open. Now I've got a reputational issue, because I've got, some of the big US guys have come over, the biggest guys from all around the world have come into this. I've organized this thing apparently, and now not only have I not booked a table, the restaurant isn't open. And then the bottom sentence on the website changed everything for me. Because the little sentence at the bottom, you often see somewhere with an asterisk next to it, it said, opening hours may be extended by special arrangement. And I thought, game on. This is now a test of my sales, persuasion, influence skills, and I kind of hopefully should be able to do something, because that's kind of what I teach. So I rang up the owner, had a chat, and I'll tell a shorter story than I do on my keynotes, but we were talking about it, and he's like, oh yeah, I think we're good. I said, we'd like to extend your opening hours. I've some people here. So we're having a conversation about doing it. He said, okay, well, when would you like me to extend my opening hours to? And I said, I'd like to extend your opening hours to Monday. Silence. He's like, but it's my only day off. It's my wife's only day off. The staff's only day off. I said, we're professional speakers. We can help you Google ranking. We can give you nice testimonials, etc., etc. Anyway, we have a negotiation conversation. And this is me with Willem, the owner of Dutch Delights in Auckland, in New Zealand, who opened his restaurant just for me, Paul, and many of our friends at Dutch PSA. You'll notice, by the way, that in this picture, Paul is actually paying the bill, which is the only time I've actually seen him get his wallet out in all the time I've known him. So thank you, Paul, for that. we've been paying for it ever since. Just kidding. You'll see many speaker friends there, of course. So that for me was a real kind of reminder of when you need to pull your sales persuasion and influence skills out of the bag, when you need to be able to get a deal over the line, when you need to be able to negotiate well enough, can you rely on your own skills, or will you be found wanting? If you've got skills that will get a restaurant to open for you on your day off, then you should be pretty well placed. And I think that for me was a big reason I wanted to kick off this presentation with that story, because this now is a market where we really need to be on our game in terms of sales, persuasion, influence skills. It's not about getting restaurants to open for us, or that would be quite useful in the UK because they're all closed right now, but it's time to get those in play to help our speaker businesses right now. So let me give you some ideas of the mistakes I see people making around the world, and I'm talking to in terms of sales in general and particularly associated to speakers. So one of the three mistakes I want to talk about today, and all the mistakes I've identified, is the biggest one, which is waiting until this is over. I see a lot of people in the road going, oh, I can't wait till we can get back to normal. I can't wait till things are better. I can't wait till things are like they used to be. I can't wait to get back to normal. And they're treating it like an interruption, like an irritation, like an annoyance that will just go away very quickly. And I don't think that's the case. I think this is more a permanent disruption to business generally, and particularly to our speaker businesses. I think that things will go back in part to what kind of like what they used to be, but even after a year or two, maybe 85, 90% of what they were for sales generally, let alone speakers. I think virtual speaking is the way forward for now, certainly. I've kind of written off my travel to lightly the end of the year, possibly 12 months time, that I'll be able to go somewhere else. I know Spanish restaurants are, or Spanish hotels, rather, Spanish hotel chains are now closed till Easter 2021. So almost 12 months time. They're not even going to bother opening before then. So there's people making contingency plans, people talking events. As I say, the big boys are talking mid next year. So Australian friends of mine are talking 2022. I certainly wouldn't want to be in the airline business right now, because I think that's, you know, you've got to put money into that business hand over fist. So I think kind of get out of just the, oh, we'll wait till this is over and things will go back to normal. I think we need to treat it as a permanent disruption that we actually need to look for the upside from and do something about, to kind of, I call this a great sales reset. And for us in the speaker business, it's a great business reset. This is about actually pretty much like starting your business again. Now, I've been doing it 16 years. I've built a fairly decent reputation in the UK and globally. So I started again with an advantage. But the key question I'm asking myself, and I'm recommending people ask themselves like you, is if you're going to start your business again today, with today's technology in today's marketplace, what would you do differently? How would you align your services? What will your offering be? It's a really great time to go back to the drawing board in terms of strategy and think, what would I do? Because if you're just waiting to get live keynote speeches face to face, you need to have a lot of cash behind you to get through the period of time it's going to take for that to happen. And I think some people will actually go, now, events companies, now we've run the event virtually. It's a lot easier to run it face to face. We've no venue to pay for, we've no staff to pay for. It's much easier to use online tools to do it. And I think some will be a permanent shift. So what I don't want you to do is kind of sit there moaning, complaining, and just waiting for this to get back to normal, because I don't think that's happening anytime soon. I've got friends all over the world and clients. I was speaking to my Chinese client this morning that's 75% back in terms of sales figures in recruitment to what they were before the lockdown. They're expecting that to be a bounce and get a reaction after that, and possibly a second wave. My Kiwi friends and my friends from South Africa on the call are starting to come out of the lockdown here in the UK. We'll find out on Sunday. I think some things will be released here, but it's going to be a slow burn, with possibly going back in for a second or third wave, if we can believe our futurists and medical speaker friends and political economists as well. Prepare your business for that. I think, there's a lot to be said for being positive, but for me, I'd rather be realistic, look at what could happen, prepare for that, and then find the upside and the advantages that I'll talk about in a minute. So don't get stuck in action and just wait, otherwise you're going to be left behind. My second point, and this is going to hurt some people on the call, but it's kind of meant to jolt you a little bit. Stop thinking of yourself as a speaker or trainer or coach or consultant. Because right now, if you just start your business again, you need to think of yourself as a salesperson. Because essentially, we're going to have to build a business from scratch with existing contacts. So it's almost like leaving a previous position where you've got a network of people, but a lot of us, particularly those of us that do more speaking, I would say that speakers don't really even have clients. You're going to speak for a client once at a big conference. Most of those people won't hire you next year or the year after. So essentially, as speakers, it's a strange business where we don't have a lot of very good regular customers. Trainers have more of that, but the speakers, you might do one gig and then get a road show perhaps, but if it's a big enough company they want someone else next year, you've almost got a series of transactions. So from a speaker and trainer point of view, I think the people that think of themselves as a salesperson and attack the market that way will have an advantage. And essentially for me, with starting the business again, it's a self-employed sales job. So it's commission only. You only eat what you kill. Some people are going to go hungry. So what can you create yourself from scratch? A great question to ask yourself was, you know, if you were hiring a salesperson right now, would you hire yourself? If you're hiring a salesperson right now, would you hire yourself? Because unless you're going to pay a lot of money to somebody to do it properly and don't get a friend to do it or try and outsource somebody to do it part-time, for me, this is about thinking we need to think like a salesperson and create business from the ground up. Go and get business from scratch. And for me, create our own business here. So not just wait for somebody to get in contact or wait for a bureau to ring us about or an agent to ring us about a particular gig. That's going to happen less in this market, is go and find it for ourselves and create business that wasn't there before. I've sold some programs in, and good news on this, which I'll tell you about afterwards, is I'm getting the same fee or better in this market, because I'm arguing with people that actually virtual work is more expensive than face-to-face, because I need to prepare a lot more slides than I would do normally. I need to do a lot more work. It's more condensed. So actually it requires a higher fee than normal. And I've been pitching that and getting it. I'll talk about that later on. So there is good news here, but I kind of want to look at the mistake side first and then what we do about it. So think about yourself. Is the business set up to do sales from scratch? Are you set up to do sales from scratch? In an easy market that we've had for the last 3 or 4 years, you can kind of get business just by being nice and friendly and likable. If you're half decent on stage, you'll get repeat business and referrals. You might have to work a little bit harder in the market that's coming. I think it's pretty much common knowledge we're going to walk out of this into a global recession, which means the way people buy is different and the way they make decisions is different. So a lot of people will say things like, oh yeah, what do we do about it? We need to get on LinkedIn. We need to do more social media. Well, pretty much everybody's going to do that. What are we going to do that's really going to build a decent speaker business? Suggest we need to think a little bit more sales. And then thirdly, I was having a conversation with my speaker friends this morning, and a lot of them have realized that what they've got over the last few weeks is what I call false pipeline. So pipeline is a sales word. It's talking about business that you've pitched for, business that you've given availability for, business that you've given quotations for or given prices to, through bureaus or agents or not. But one of the things I'd really want to make sure is spending time working opportunities that have a good chance of converting. So people might say something like, hey, Eckstein, we're thinking of doing this event. Could you let us know your availability and fee, your availability and pricing? And the fact we're thinking of, that phrase should strike fear into any speaker listening to this, because we're not convinced the event's actually going to happen. We're not convinced that they're going to do anything. We're not convinced they're going to hire an external person for it, but we can spend loads of time getting excited and closing it. Often these come from bureaus, by the way. I know we've probably got some bureaus on the call. I think bureaus are fantastic. I think they do a great job, but as speakers, we're not in control of that sales process. So if you've been relying on bureaus and purely bureaus for your work, I think there's a gap there in terms of you trying to find some yourself, particularly those of us that can do other work apart from just keynotes. So bureaus don't often find training work. They don't come across masterclasses. the sort of things you can do as follow-ons with clients, unless you've secured them already. So I really want to advocate us looking for our own opportunities. And for me, any speaker, particularly new speakers, come and say, "Oh, I'm not got enough work. I need to get an agent. I need to get a bureau to represent me and look after me." When actually I say that we shouldn't be relying on bureaus for our work. That'll be nice extra work that we should supplement what we generate ourselves. So false pipeline is deals that are probably not going to convert, yet we get excited about, we look at what's coming in, and then most of them drop out and don't happen. That's devastating and can leave almost a diary full of tumbleweed blowing through it when there's not enough opportunities. So when we do get opportunities, make sure they're not false pipeline, make sure they're well qualified, that they're actually going to happen. Particularly if somebody comes and they say something like, "I need a speaker for," or "I'm looking for a speaker for this event," rather than, "We've heard about you before, Extine, and we'd like you to do this." Those are two different types of inquiry, two different types of hot or cold, and should have two different sales processes attached to them. I'll come on to that in a minute. So those are kind of mistakes that I want to cover. So what do we do about it? Number one, this is the best market ever that I've seen in 25 years in being involved as a speaker, a buyer, and a salesperson. It's the best market for outreach. Prospecting is a traditional sales word for it. So this is about talking to people, and ideally over the phone. I've seen we got a LinkedIn person after me, so I don't want to steal any thunder there. But I want to get people in a position where we're able to generate new leads and then win the business. So no matter whether you're talking over the phone, you're using LinkedIn, you're using email marketing, you've got sponsored ads, or however you do your prospecting right now, you're still going to want to convert those opportunities once you've got them. It's the best market I've ever seen for prospecting. Interesting people are working from home now. Some of us are having to become our own hairdressers, our own fitness instructors, our own pretty much everything at home. For me, while people are at home, certainly if you've got mobile numbers or cell phone numbers for the international guys on the call, it's a really good time to talk into prospects, to people who book speakers, for people who booked you 2 or 3 years ago you haven't spoken to since. And obviously, if it came through a bureau, you need to pass that back to the bureau and not prospect it yourself. But if it's work with you on yourself, then I'd be talking to those people that booked me years ago I haven't heard from since. It's funny that in a speaker business, we often get a booking and then don't speak to the people afterwards, particularly if we know they're going to book other people and not us. There's people who booked us 2, 3, 5, 10 years ago, maybe, for the people who've been doing it a bit longer on the call, and we don't really have much contact with them. If that was an account I was managing as a salesperson, I'd be talking to them regularly. I'd be finding out who they need next. I'd be making recommendations of other speakers. I'd be looking for other opportunities to get back in, and we don't often do that. So whatever method you use for prospecting, I would ramp those up right now, because we're going to need more opportunities for the economy that's coming. Okay. My next point is qualification. Now, I find that most speakers are not necessarily natural salespeople, not that anybody is. I was a professional buyer to start with, and then a pretty hopeless salesperson before turning myself around to being the top salesperson in the UK for my industry. Qualification is a sales word that you may have heard before, but probably don't do much about or integrate it into your sales process. We need to be qualifying our opportunities right now to know which ones are live, which ones are real, and which ones we should put effort into. So understanding which one, for example, if they have an event in the past, the event is more likely to happen this time. If they have an annual event, it's more likely to happen this time. If they've had speakers in the past, they've had previous speakers, they're more external. They're more likely to hire external speakers this time. If they've always had internal speakers and they're just investigating what it would cost to have an external speaker this time, that's an inquiry I'd be a little bit worried about. They should have a lot more qualification. Essentially, it's about understanding the sales opportunity and asking questions. I talk a lot. One of the articles I wrote that was in my sales academy for those of you that are members on qualification is the 7 things we should find out before we give availability and price. As a speaker, there's 7 different things which then have a lot more questions attached to that we should do before giving availability and price. Once you give availability and price, you have automatically lost control of the sales process. Yet people will ring you up or send you an email and say, are you available on the 17th of June? And how much would you cost? The minute you reply to those, you've lost control of the sales process. We don't know what they're going to do next. We don't know what their attitude to that price is going to be. We don't know what to do next. And then if we follow up, it's like we feel like we're pestering them. It's like, hi, XD, it's Andy Preston. I just wondered if you had any feedback for me on what we sent. They're like, yeah, nothing yet. We'll come back to you. And it's like, now I've done that 3 or 4 times. The final call, something like, hi, XD, it's Andy again. Sorry to bother you again. I just wonder if you had any feedback for me. Sorry, Andy, we're really busy. Tell you what, leave it with us and we'll come back to you when we hear anything. Now that's almost impossible to follow up again. And we feel like we're really pestering them. So while we've got an opportunity to speak to people, we need to make the most of it and make sure that we're putting the effort in to the opportunities that are well qualified. It's going to be a difficult market out there, and we need to be creating opportunities rather than just relying on the stuff that comes to us. So thinking about what we can offer people in this market, thinking about what people are buying. That doesn't mean turning around and say, hey, here's how to do online presentations, when every man, their dog and their cat and their aardvark is now talking about how to do presentations online. We need to kind of stick with your brand, but can you incorporate something into your brand? So if you're a change management speaker, you can easily move into dealing with change in a COVID-19 reality. That's an easy leap to make that continues with your brand and your credibility, that people go, that makes sense. You don't want to panic and massively deviate from your brand, but if you can add to it and create something that's a bit more timely in this market. I'm running presentations on selling the Corona economy, like I am now, which is my phrase, so don't steal it, please. I'm running stuff on how to change sales presentations online, because that's going to have to be done for the next at least 12 months. Some of those are still going to be done online. So what can you actively work on that's going to represent real value to your market, and is going to make them kind of almost salivate at the mouth and froth at the mouth in terms of excitement? A couple of tips I would give you here is, I've always said, for anybody to make a buying decision, there are 2 things that have to be present. One of which is buying motivation. So if any of you are members of my sales academy, go and watch the videos on buying motivation. A short example or short description of that is that there's an emotional need behind them wanting the purchase. So in a speaker context, there's an emotional need behind them wanting you. So I don't just want any speaker, I want Eckstein. I don't want any speaker, I want Pete. I don't want any speaker, I want Steve, because when you can get an emotional need behind their interest, they are more likely to book you. I'm not saying they will, I'm saying they're more likely. So there's got to be an emotional need, and there needs to be urgency. I've always said, and most of you have been on my work and in my sales academy will know this, that if there's not an emotional need and or not urgency, it's unlikely this will proceed. So if there's interest but no urgency, you'll follow up and they'll go, oh, XD, yeah, sorry. You know what, if we were going to hire a speaker for that event, we'd definitely go with you because you're really good, but we decided we're going to go internal for the time being. So, we decided we're going to hold off, or we're going to move the event, etc., etc. So that goes into what I call drift. They're thinking about doing something like you, but they've not been convinced of holding the event, or they've not been convinced about doing that particular thing. That's something that I wouldn't have gone that far down the line with had I known that. What I'm advocating here is knowing that up front. So if there isn't some sort of emotional need and there isn't urgency in the process, my advice is the salesperson, i.e. us as speakers in this context, we need to provide it. And if there isn't an emotional need and urgency from them, and we can't create it, that's a deal I don't want to spend a lot of time and effort on, because it's highly unlikely to convert. What I want to do is give them a really good impression of me, send them some links, send them things that will be helpful, but leave them so that when they are interested, they want to come back to me. Of course, that's what we want to do, but I wouldn't be spending hours blocking dates out of my diary, putting big proposals together, recording videos for them, putting other clients off, not booking other stuff in, etc., etc., because the likelihood of conversion is low. For those of us that have been in business as a speaker for more than 5 years, you should have your own list of what makes it more likely or less likely for people to book you, and get those questions into a conversation. Okay, so that's enough on qualification. And my final point is, before I open for questions, is around sharpening up our sales skills. This is a market where our sales skills will have to rise to the top. Those of us that can sell ourselves better, can negotiate better, can control the process better, can close better, will generate some decent business for ourselves. If we're sat there just waiting for the phone to ring or posting on social media and hoping everyone's going to come to us, I'm not saying you're not going to get business, but you're generally going to get less business. So I will be reaching out to, I mean, none of us here necessarily, none of the people on the call, probably apart from me, that want to do cold calling, but reaching out to people, existing clients, finding out what they need right now is a really good tactic. Looking at what problems they have that we might actually be able to help them with, because if they booked us regularly, particularly as well, our relationship should be really strong with them, which means that they will see us as the natural person who can help them in our specialist area. There's business all over that. I would advocate you get to those people before competitors do, or do find a way of solving that problem internally. We've got to be able to add more value rather than just being, you know, various bureaus around the world talk about experts who speak, not just speakers or trainers. For me, this is where our expertise can add real value. If you're a change management speaker, you can add real value right now. If you're a sales speaker, you can add real value right now. If you're a futurist, you can add real value right now. There's loads of ways we can add different value. Are our clients aware of that? Or do they just see us as somebody who they book for a sort of 45-minute speech at the annual conference and probably never speak to again? Are we the natural person in their mind that when they do have a need, they come to us? What can we actually create that's really going to help them right now with the problems that they're having that can be delivered virtually? How can we almost re-engineer our businesses for the market now and the market that's coming? Because the market that's coming is going to be decision, it's going to be recession effectively. So decisions in recession need to be thought about more carefully. So people that might have said before, oh yeah, Katja, we're going to do the same thing as last year. So we'd like you to do what you did last year again. And if it's the same price, we'll do business with you. Fine, okay. Now those people might go, Katja, can you let us know if you're available on the 17th of March next year? And can you give a price, because we need to get three prices in. Or they'll say, oh yeah, we just need to get a list, and we're talking to 17 bureaus and 41 speakers, and we just need to get details of everybody, and then we'll come back to you. That process is not going to be quick, and that process is not favoring you. So how can you actually, when people do have a buying need, how can you interrupt that process and get the process to favor you? That's also a question to think about, is how many people on the call have a sales process? How many people run the buyer through the process that they want, and how many just do what they're asked to do by the MD's PA or the event organizer or whoever you're speaking to? This is the time, if we want to secure the business, we want to get people running on our process to get to the end of it and get a successful conclusion for us and a great result for everybody, rather than just doing what everyone else does. I talk a lot, those of you who know me, about stand out selling, about being the difference. Going from my sales career where I had to sell against 150 direct competitors, selling exactly the same thing, I had to be able to stand out. For now, it's time for us to stand out as speakers and trainers, to really differentiate our offering from other people and what we can offer. If they see us as the only person who can do what we do or help them in that way, people will pay more for that. If they see us as, oh, he or she's just another speaker and there's loads of other speakers out there, you're going to get pressure on price. You're going to get people saying, oh, we've only got this amount to spend. Oh, we can only spend this amount. I know we paid you full fee last time, but we can only pay half of that this time. The minute you accept that and other speakers accept that, you set a new normal in the market. I've got programs I'm running with clients virtually now, as I mentioned earlier on the call, that I'm running at full fee and full fee plus, Because my argument is for the people who came onto the call late, that actually running online presentations is more work. I normally have my video guy running my slides separately. I've got 2 camera setups here and switching equipment and loads of different stuff to do presentations like this, and then a full studio setup behind me. But that's really going to help when I can get across the line and get business in and impress people. If I can't do any presentations to impress people, that throws me a challenge. But I've got presentations because I'm arguing that it's more work. I've got my video guy to work with. I've got to put new slide decks together. I've got to supply additional resources to get the guys to work that I normally be able to do face-to-face, but can't really. So I need to do work with the managers for extra sessions for them. So I'm the work that I've just won is actually 25% above my normal full fee. Because the client's gone, well, yeah, okay, we appreciate the extra work. We need this. We've got an emotional need and there's urgency. I want to be able to pick up the work from it. So from our point of view, what can we offer them they need right now? And one of the speakers on a Corona selling call I did this morning was talking about what level of discounts we need to give. First of all, do not even dream of starting with a discount or a negotiation. Let's see where they're at first. Let's see how much they need us. And if they need what we do more than any other speaker, if they need what we provide, our program, our resources, our speeches, if they need that more than anything else, we'll pay a premium for that. So are you the, as I say, when we talk about a Star Wars phrase or a Jose Mourinho phrase, are you the chosen one or are you just one of many? If you can get to chosen one position, or as I call it, and stand out selling's favorite position, you've got much more chance of winning the business and much more chance of winning a higher fee. That's where I'd like you to be as speakers. That's where I'd like you to be as trainers, coaches, consultants, whatever your work is. But it's about getting to that place rather than relying on work coming to